All right, welcome back to Mega Cares. My name is Tony Gonzales, and of course, every week we talk about stuff that's happening here locally. And this next little bit that we're going to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and take the helm for the next 10 minutes or so and talk to you about the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life, because that's what I have been volunteering for the past 14 years. 14 years. So, first, I'm going to tell you the story of really how I got involved, and then we'll talk about the Relay for Life that's coming up in Atascadero on the 5th, the Cinco de Mayo, and then there's one on the 19th at Cal Poly. That's going to be a fun one. And then finally here in Santa Maria on June 23rd. So, let's go back many, many, many years ago in our time machine, back to before we had children and before there were cell phones. And it was a beautiful day here in Santa Maria. I lived right here, actually near this radio station, and drove up home, and my door was locked as I was walking in from the grocery store with my wife. I could hear my dog barking in the back, and I had this beautiful little black lab named Rhodey, and I could hear her barking because she's excited we're coming home, and the phone was ringing. Well, we didn't have voicemail. We didn't have we needed to get to the phone, right? It was back in the days when you actually picked up an actual phone in your home. And so run to go pick up the phone. My wife says, I'll grab the dog. So she does. I pick up the phone, and it's my mom. She said, hi, honey, how are you? And I said, hey, Mom, what's happening? And she said, I'm so sorry. And I said, wait, what? And the dog's kind of, jumping around. And I said, hold on. The dog's jumping, Mom. What's going on? And she said, I'm sorry. And I said, sorry for what? She said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She just kept saying sorry. And I started getting scared. And my wife could see that I was getting scared. And so she takes the dog and kind of puts the dog in the room. And finally I said, Mom, what is going on? And the next three words that she said to me would change all of our lives for the rest of our life. And it was, I have cancer. And I kid you not that when I heard those words, like time just stopped. Everything just stopped. I couldn't hear anymore. I could see my wife's mouth moving, saying, probably what's going on. I don't even know if my mom was talking to me, but everything just paused. I could not believe what I just heard. And then I zapped back out of it. My mom was crying. I was crying. And I said, I'm coming over. And I promise you, my parents lived just a few blocks from me. I probably could have ran over there. I frantically looked around for my keys. My wife grabbed my keys and said, I'm driving. She said, you just sit there, calm down. It'll be all right. What I remember of that day was getting to my parents' house and having the discussion of what kind of cancer it was. It was breast cancer, what her chances were, that she needed to have emergency surgery, a double mastectomy, which is when they remove both your breasts off. And being, young at that time in my early 20s, I'm thinking, so in order for my mom to even have a chance at living, you're telling me that we need to remove both of her breasts. And I knew how hard that was going to be on my mom and what was going to change. But I knew I needed to be strong. I'm kind of a big guy, and I knew I needed to stand strong, be the rock, be the guy that's going to say, Mom, it's going to be all right. You're going to make it. It's going to be okay, and be that guy. And it's tough. It's tough. We come from a pretty close family. I come from a Hispanic background, and in our background, we didn't talk about cancer from the past. We didn't say, Uncle Al died from, colon cancer, or we didn't say Uncle Joe had this or that. It just was hush hush. And really, back in those days, you're talking the mid 90s, or early 90s, actually, cancer, even back then, was a bad word worldwide. And I knew the American Cancer Society. I'd heard it before, but I really didn't know how they could help. They were a big organization that meant nothing to me. Right now, we just had to get my mom taken care of. Dr. Dickman came in, and he was able to help us out in getting my mom through that. Then became radiation time, where for those of you that don't know, once you've removed it, once they've checked the lymph nodes to make sure it hasn't spread over the body, then what's next is to kill whatever cells are left. So they send poison into your body, but they can't just choose which is cancer and which is not, right? Now we're getting close to being able to do that. And some cancers, we're really close. But back then, it was just this poison that went into your body, and it caused her, she would go in for a chemo treatment, and she would have maybe 1 or 2 days of good, and then she was throwing up, and she was cold, and she lost her hair. And so you become what I know now as a caregiver. And as a caregiver, you pray with them, you feed them, you talk to them, you make them laugh, you sit with them while they cry, and you do the best you can. And really, a caregiver can be a child, it can be a parent, it can be friends, it can be anybody that you feel is really helping you get through this. As a means of support, I actually shaved my head one day. And I surprised my mom because I thought, she'll think this is great. She doesn't have hair. I don't have hair. And I walked in and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, mijo, what did you do?" And I said, "Oh, I shaved my head." And she goes, "Your head is all dented and stuff." She says, "Don't do that. You're depressing me." And I, first of all, didn't realize that my head looked like the Death Star from Star Wars. Secondly, I didn't realize that I was going to depress her. So I put a hat on until my hair grew back, which was actually pretty quick, thank God. So we get through all that. And my mom, for all intents and purposes, we got rid of the cancer, and it had been a year or so, and she hadn't been back to her doctor, and none of us spoke about cancer again because, again, in a Hispanic background, we're kind of superstitious, and it's one of those things where if you say it, it's gonna come back, right? You say the word, or you say I beat it, it's gonna come back, and so it went for a couple years until my mom kind of got caught, but I don't remember if it was us or the doctors or somebody said, "Hey, when was the last time you had a body scan?" And she said, "I don't need to. I don't have cancer anymore." And they said, "Well, we better do it." Well, poor thing, she didn't want to do it either. And while we waited for those results to come back, somewhere along that month, a friend of mine named Debbie Jeffers was putting together what was a Relay for Life kickoff. And I didn't know what Relay for Life was at that time. All I knew was she wanted me to come and talk at the event about my experience. And because I'd been a radio DJ, she wanted me to kind of lead the event, get everybody excited. And I'm thinking, how do you get people excited about cancer? How do you get people excited about dying? So I show up at this event at St. Joseph High School gym, and there's people walking around with boas and purple sunglasses and purple shirts and hats and just crazy stuff. And first of all, I thought, wow, these people are kind of crazy. Where's the bar? But they were just excited to be there. But what I learned while I was there was not only were these people surviving, not only were these caregivers who had now had a name, caregiver, that's what I was, they were being praised and honored and saying, good for you. We're all here to help you caregive for your survivor. And a survivor, when it comes to the Cancer Society, is anybody who has just been told they have cancer. From that moment on until you lose your battle, you are a survivor. And so I'm learning all this terminology. And then I learned, well, what about those that pass? Well, we live on with their memory through luminaria ceremonies. I found out what a luminaria ceremony was and how just remembering these people and their souls and the life that they had helps them live on. They truly don't die as long as we keep their memories alive. We always remember the battle they had, the presence that they had on this earth while they were here, and the difference that made in all our lives. Wow, all this was sounding pretty amazing to me, and I thought, this is my new home. This is what I got to do to help fight cancer. So I signed up for a team. My comadre Brenda had a team for Jackie's Falling Stars. That was the first team 14 years ago that I joined. And we raised some money. We got a T-shirt. We went to the event and it was awesome. I really had a great time. Came back from the event, told my mom about it. She's, "Oh, that's good. That's fine." And it turns out my mom did have another round of cancer, and that one we didn't know how it was going to go because it had gone into her bloodstream and it was working its way into her bones. And honestly, again, for the second time, I was ready to say goodbye to my mom. And that's so sad to say, but she had more faith. She had things she wanted to live for. She wanted to see her grandchildren from the first round of that she was told she had cancer. She wanted to see me get married. She wanted to drink tequila at her wedding. She wanted to touch her grandbabies. For some reason, she knew she was going to have a boy first as a grandson, and she wanted to meet him. Then it was my daughter Melina came along. She wanted to hold her. So it was always this strive. My mom always strived to live and to hang out. And so thanks to the American Cancer Society and the trials runs that they do on these medications, my mom was able to get into a trial run of medication and had her cancer went into remission, which was amazing. I praise God for it. I'm so excited. And so about 3 years into doing Relay for Life, I now not only had a team, but I was on part of the committee to run it, and I couldn't get my mom to come out. She wouldn't want to go. Mom, come on. I've run this thing. It's a lot of fun. They do special things for survivors, and it's 24 hours long, and you're gonna have a great time, and everybody goes, people you know, and she just didn't want to go. And I didn't understand at that time it was because she was afraid to say she had beat cancer again. But somewhere along the line, about my fifth relay, I had become the co-chair and was about to be the chair of this event. And so my mom at this time said, "Okay, we'll go to a relay event." And she went, and I actually didn't see her very much because I was so busy doing things at this event. I mean, we had hundreds of people out there, and different things happening the whole time, games. So I'd see her walk by and she'd smile. One time when I saw her, she had a rose in her hand from the survivor lap. She had been given a medal. It was just seeing her smile made me feel good. And she came over. She was introducing me to people I'd known for a few years now through Relay. She's like, "This is my son Tony, and he works at a radio station." They're like, "Yeah, we know Tony. We've known Tony for a couple of years now." And it was funny. I was having a great time. She stayed the night for the Luminaria ceremony, and she was moved by that. But really, it was the next day. The next day we used to release balloons. We can't do that anymore, but we used to write messages to those that had passed and those who were battling against cancer. And we'd have a big balloon release, and there'd be this beautiful music playing. And so we would gather all of us, hundreds and hundreds, almost a couple thousand people in one little spot in front of the stage while the music's playing, release them at one time. And so when that happened, it was important to me to have my mom next to me. And so she's a little bitty thing. I'm a big guy. And so there I was in my arm around her. And, she's like half the size of me. And I had my mic in the other hand. And I tell everybody, "Okay, release the balloons." And I'm trying not to cry because I'm a bit of a crier. But they released the balloons. And I'm looking up at the sky and I'm thinking, God, this is just amazing. Just amazing what we can do as a community when we come together to fight cancer. And although the balloons don't do anything, it's what we've done today and the money that we've raised. And at that time, it was really over $200,000. It was just amazing. So I finally looked down at my mom, and my mom looks up at me and she says, "Thank you for having me here. I finally feel healed." Y'all, to hear her say that made me feel so good, but it also gave me a power that I knew cancer had found its worst enemy, me. It wasn't going to do this anymore to my mom and my friends. It just got its worst enemy, me. And it's through Relay for Life. You could feel that way. One thing that I wish we knew was out there when my mom was going through cancer was the 1-800 number. If you have any questions about types of cancer, doctors, hope lodges where you can stay for free while you've been rushed to a hospital somewhere where you didn't even know you were going to be, anything having to do with cancer, you can find that at 1-800-ACS-2345. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even holidays. They're there for you. 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, 12 in the afternoon. 1-800-ACS-2345. Call that number. Reach out to them. That's what this money, part of it, is used for. It's used for legislative reasons to get things passed, like no smoking in certain areas, but it's also used for this. And then when you find out what you have or you start looking for places to research, please, if you're going to go on the internet, go to one spot and one spot only. Go to the American Cancer Society. Go to cancer.org. Cancer.org. That is going to help you find the resources. And you're going to realize, well, my mom and many of these survivors realize, you can live. You will live. You will do the best with what you've got in the time that you have here to be a representative that cancer will not win. Now, I have lost friends to cancer, but remember, in that Luminaria ceremony at these Relay for Lives, we remember their souls, we remember their names, and the difference they made in the life while they were here on this earth. We'd love for you to come out and be a part of our events. We have one coming up on Cinco de Mayo in Atascadero at Sunken Gardens. That one's going to be a lot of fun. Even if you want to come up for the day, we walk around a track. There's vendors out there, music out there, food out there. It's going to be beautiful. Now, you can go online and find the Relay for Life near you at relayforlife.org, or you can just go put in there Relay for Life, North County SLO, and that'll take you to that one. Then we have another one that's coming up on the 19th at Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. That's going to be a fun one. Now, that one's not 24 hours. That one's a shorter one. It's only 12 hours. But we have another 24-hour one here in Santa Maria on June 23rd. And if you want to get involved, all you got to do is reach out to us. Go to the Relay for Life website. You'll find my information and send an email and say, I'd like to get involved. It's raising $1 or more. It's saving one life. It's coming out and being a part of one event, and you'll be hooked forever. You'll have that same feeling that I had when I felt like I was defeated, but I knew my mom was a warrior, and she kept fighting back, and she looked up at me and said, I finally feel healed. Now, you got to know that my mom's on her third bout of cancer, and this is the first time that I said, we're going to beat it, Mom. We're going to figure out what we got to do. I knew it wasn't a death sentence because I've got the American Cancer Society. I've got my Relay for Life family. I've got my mom who's learned through all of this that there are ways that we can beat our cancers. And even if there were that moment that her life was taken from us, that she will be remembered forever through my Relay for Life family, my American Cancer Society family, and through what we do and what we can do and will do. I mean, realize this, that just in my son and daughter's lifetime, we have found miraculous cures for cancer. Australia just found out that they have a cure for cervical cancer. That's amazing. It's happening all around you. Get involved, be a part of the movement at 1-800-ACS-2345 or go online to relayforlife.org. Join us either in Atascadero,